Welcome to With You Podcast,
where we explore relationships and life transitions.
I'm David.
And I'm Tara.
And here we are. It's been a good week.
It's beautiful. It's spring.
I know. You just so happy for you.
Make me come inside and
record. I know. You're like, hey, let's sit outside. I'm like, no, we need to record.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love May.
You were telling me there's things turning colors, like green is out there now.
What are you surprised about green?
No,
you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I just don't notice. Like, I don't notice it the way you notice it.
No, because you're not as depressed by winter as I am.
No, I actually enjoy winter.
Yeah,
it's like this amazing black and white movie that we're in. And so now we've moved into Technicolor, which is more of Tara's jam.
Yeah, totally my jam.
It is.
Totally. Yep, I'll take it any day.
I'm excited because it's the end of the semester. So we have parties and wrapping things up. It's nice to have something accomplished. So it feels like we're ending and it's been going well.
I know, the end comes so fast when it comes. It's like December, February. I skipped January because
you slept through that.
And then once you hit March, it's just like a fast slide.
Boom, boom. And now we're in May.
And we're graduating.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And we have people coming in. The fun part of being where we live is we don't have any graduates this year, but we have friends that are coming in for their kids' graduation.
I always forget that until we get here and people keep messaging us like, I'm in town for the weekend. And
I know, let's hang out.
I should always just block this week off, and I forget that.
Yeah, well, and it leads into Mother's Day weekend too. So
always
it's just
does.
A very big weekend holiday for the Van Dyke family. 2 sets of graduations and Mother's Day and just all sorts of festive fun.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, David?
Oh, well, so I was walking the streets of Philadelphia and was with some friends and I was there doing some volunteer work for my profession and thought, hey, we're talking about why we volunteer, why we serve, and we're all in our 50s, 60s, 70s. And we're like, these days, those kids. But they were like, you should talk about this on a podcast. It's really about relationships and community and connection. And so I think I texted you like, hey, let's talk about volunteerism.
Volunteerism. Yeah, it's an ism. Yeah, when we thought about it, we've got a lot of stories to tell because we've been volunteering our time now for decades.
I know. As we wrote down things, I'm like, I think we are professional volunteerers.
Well, we're pretty good at doing a lot of work for no pay.
Yeah, I don't understand this money thing.
Yeah, no, yeah. But yeah, so we'll tell some stories. We got probably more than we can tell in an hour, but yeah, we thought it would be fun to talk about why we think it's important because clearly we must. We do it all the time. We do it a lot. Work for and it's funny that when you think about like, well, what makes volunteering versus, ministry, because a lot of volunteering happens in church setting for us. True. But, and you think, well, if it's just a task without any financial reward,
is that
we're doing it. I mean, we're doing it in just family life all the time, but it's usually for somebody else's cause or, for a bigger cause for an organization or for something that you want to be a part of.
But there is that giving to your family and volunteering even within family.
Yeah, you can definitely volunteer to do the dishes.
Yeah, and I do. It's so it's kind of service to the whole or organization.
Yeah, to something bigger.
So we got thinking about this, and so we were like, let's write down some of the things that we do to volunteer, and then it got fun.
Yeah, well, we haven't talked about it, so I don't know what your stories are going to be.
I don't know what yours are either.
I know what some of yours might be because I probably heard a lot of your stories.
Yeah. Do you want to start chronologically, or do you want to start like how?
Well,
should we
maybe
start?
Give me a story that happened before because we've done a lot together that we probably know, but also for separate things since we've been married.
Yeah.
So how about when you were younger, what was one of your first volunteering memories?
Well, I don't know the proper word for this, but I think it's called a candy striper.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what they used to be called.
Yeah, it's a hospital volunteer.
Yeah.
And
they were called that because they would wear a uniform that was striped back
red
back
and white
when.
striped. I don't think we wore.
I don't think you wore a red and white striped dress.
No, it was well, and it tended to be gendered, right? Like
Yeah,
candy
yeah.
stripers tended to be
Girls.
girls, and so I think I started because I wanted to kind of build my resume for college, and so
Mm-hmm.
I was probably middle school. And my parents had a connection to the hospital. And so they're like, you should volunteer at the hospital. So rather than doing it alone, I grabbed a buddy of mine
Of
and
course.
said,
It's way more fun with a friend.
yeah, hey, let's volunteer. And he's like, I am not going to be called a candy striper. I'm like, yeah, but we'll be the only guys with all the girl
Ah,
volunteers.
the odds. So this is one of the benefits of volunteering, everybody.
Yeah,
Social
it's
connections.
not altruism. So we became volunteers, and basically we went to the rooms and brought newspapers, like physical newspapers,
Yeah.
to people that were in the hospital and talked with them. Now, what I didn't know was my buddy really didn't like medicine or hospitals, and the sight of blood made him pass out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so he volunteered to do this out of the love for me and our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And so one time I was interested in pre-med, and so they said, "Hey, you want to come and see this well baby check?" And I'm like, "Great, come on, buddy." And so we did, and he's a big guy. I
Yeah.
mean, 6'4".
Yeah.
And so they were doing a little heel prick on a baby to draw some blood. And as soon as that nurse hit that heel and a drop of blood came out, he fell like a chopped up tree, just wham. And the
Oh
nurse,
no.
one of the nurses saw it happening and kind of grabbed him so he didn't fall on the baby, but he fell on her. And so they were both laying there in the
Did he get fired
doorway.
as a volunteer?
No, but we were no longer allowed to do anything but deliver newspapers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I ever told you the candy striper story, but I think that was my first official volunteer work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a good story.
How about one of yours from before
Ah,
BD, before David?
before David. I mean, mine were pretty typical because a lot of my volunteering was through ministry things at church, go on a youth group, cleanup day or things like that.
Oh yeah,
Go and
yeah.
clean up somebody's yard or
Yep.
service projects kind of
Mm-hmm.
through the church or volunteering for something the church needed. Like, I think I was on the committee that made the decorations that
Oh,
went
of
up,
course of course you
Oh
were.
yeah, so I did a lot of that,
You did
but
a lot of things around the school, didn't you?
yeah, around the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. When our kids were
But
in school.
I mean
Well,
volunteering.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I was wondering what you call volunteering because my senior year of high school,
Yeah.
I was in probably 75% of the clubs they ran. I mean, and some of those are just interest clubs,
Yeah.
you're in the Spanish club or whatever, but some of them were SAD was one of them, Students Against Drunk Driving.
Oh
So
yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
go out and make posters and
Yell at
raise
cars.
awareness. I don't know. I remember doing a lot of car washes, fundraising
Yeah.
volunteer. That's
That
a lot
was
of
fundraising. Yeah.
yeah, so we'd raise funds for this or that, and you'd be out on the street with a poster wearing your shorts, getting people to stop.
Well, I wouldn't be doing
Well,
that.
maybe.
You would be doing that.
Yeah, so a lot around the school and the church, but I also in college I did some tutoring for the youth prison
Oh yeah.
around here, and that one it was a little uncomfortable. They would bus us over to the youth detention center,
Hmm.
and we would just basically go in and help people with their homework.
Yeah.
And it was a little uncomfortable. I got paired up, with people that sometimes I'd find out later they were in for some very, very serious
Yeah.
crimes.
Violent
And
crime.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know that we got that much homework done. I think they just enjoyed having someone else to talk to,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is fine.
that
So
makes sense.
yeah,
So what led you to doing some of that?
what
Like
led me
like for me,
to all of that,
and I know I
other
confess.
than meeting
Yeah,
meeting
I
boys,
conf-
meeting girls.
yeah. The social
Well, I mean,
component.
I think that's a big benefit of volunteering that, of course there's usually you want to do some good,
Yeah.
usually a good reason for volunteering that I think a lot of people would say is just wanting to help out with something that you believe in,
Yeah.
wanting to share your skills. Um, but I think there is a lot of like social connection value to it too. Meeting
Yeah.
people who are interested in the same things.
Yeah. I know I did that for summers, going to Bear Lake, going to a Bible camp and working there, but it really didn't get paid. You were just
Yeah.
volunteer
Yeah.
junior staff.
Yeah.
But it was about being with the people there. It was building relationships and getting for that, it was building my faith too. So there
Yeah.
was this faith component in service of how do we live out loving
Right.
lives.
Yeah, because for us, service is a huge part of living out our faith.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do tell single people, if you're looking to how do I meet people, I think it is a great way to meet people. Not if that's your whole purpose, that's not super great.
Yeah.
If that's your entire, motivation and intention,
Yeah.
but it's a nice side value to be part of a community of people
Yeah, because you have
doing the same thing.
shared activity. I mean,
Mhm.
that's in connection and developing friendship. It's having shared interest, and so volunteering somewhere where you care about those things, you're going to run into similar people.
Mhm.
I know we talked a little bit about this on our walk of the difference between kind of when we do a work job.
Yeah.
There's a transaction that happens. I do it to get something intentionally, like I
Yeah.
work to get paid, and it's transactional. And I think a lot of what, at least where we live now, a lot of choices are made on transactional, even kind of politics right now. What's in it for us?
Yeah.
There's this transactional nature. Volunteerism really isn't about transaction. It's more about community.
Mhm.
It's not about I do this and I get something from it. Is I do this to participate in something. So I do get something from it, but it's not the heart of it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's wanting to contribute to something and
Yeah.
being part of a bigger thing than you.
Yeah.
And knowing you're not going to get a financial gain, and there may be gains, but that's not the motivation.
Right. It's not the step off starting spot.
Hmm. Yeah, it's more about the giving. That should be the primary motivation, and then it's nice when there's also other payoffs like social connection and just feeling good, being able to give, to add something that was needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had just a few episodes ago, we had Nancy Shepard on, and it was developing this thing that a lot of people volunteer their time to help care for others. And Jimmy Carter in Habitat for Humanity volunteered and
Yeah,
giving,
there's a
building
lot of
homes.
organizations that are driven off the work of volunteers that really rely on people giving their time and
Yeah.
their energy and their skills and their expertise. A lot of organizations. And actually, if people go back into our library of podcasts,
Wow, that sounds official.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few of the people we've done interviews with. I mean, when I think about it through just rifling through the people we've talked to in my head, a good number of them do things that they're either volunteering their own time for something that
Hmm.
is of interest to us, or they also need help from
Yeah, they need
volunteers.
volunteers
So,
to
yeah.
do the job.
Mhm.
I think about that kind of interest, but also developing a skill. Another thing, I don't know how much I talked about Uncle John with you, my uncle, but he would take
Well, I
me.
hung out with Uncle John.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But when I was little, he would take me to work with him. He was
Mhm.
a carpenter, and it must have been an off day because we didn't get a lot done. But he would bring me along, teach me how to use a hammer. I mean, I would recycle nails, knocking nails out of wood and straightening them out so they could be used again.
Mhm.
But it was the time together. I did learn. I can do some projects around the house. And I attribute
You're
that
a good
to,
problem solver.
yeah, and I attribute that to kind of spending Saturdays with Uncle John.
Yeah, well, and I would say both of your parents and my parents also modeled this really well.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
your mom worked for many, many, many years as a hospital volunteer in
Decades.
the gift shop,
Yeah,
and your dad was a volunteer to start a whole hospice program.
yeah,
And my parents did similar things, a lot of medical volunteering. and a lot of church volunteer work. So I think that was modeled in our families as well.
Yeah.
It was just part of the fabric of what we did. We gave our time, you know, part of fundraisers. That's what a lot of people volunteer for. A lot of the
Hmm.
marathons or 5Ks that are raising funds for some organization.
Yeah. I don't see running a marathon as volunteering. That sounds like
That's just
torture.
not your choice. There's something
No.
for everybody.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to the interest pieces.
Yeah.
I am not interested unless somebody's chasing me to run.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about what we did at probably our first volunteering that we did as a married couple.
Oh dear.
Do you remember? What
I
comes to
think I
mind?
think it was 1993, 94, and working with youth ministry.
That's right.
And I'm
So
pretty sure you got us involved in that.
I can't remember whose idea it was, probably mine.
Yeah. I was in grad school, so I had plenty of
We
things to
were so
do.
busy. When I think about all the time we spent doing that, the
We
youth
were
ministry.
busy and poor.
I know. Well, so why do something to make money?
Yeah,
we
let's just volunteer our
You were in
time.
grad school at Fuller in California,
Yeah.
and I was working. And at the church where I was working, we volunteered to help with the junior high ministry. So
Yeah.
we would show up on whenever was it met Wednesday nights,
I
and then
can't
I
remember.
remember going to their winter camp. I'd go volunteer
You
to
did
be
a
in
lot
charge of
more
a
of those
cabin.
things.
I guess
Yeah.
you were studying, so I was like, I might as well hang out with seventh graders.
It's like hanging out with David since he's
Yeah,
busy.
but they taught me a lot, man.
Those
I was
girls.
those seventh grade girls. I was shocked.
I remember you telling me stories about how you went to like a concert with them.
Well, no, this was
DCLA.
DCLA.
Yeah,
So it's like a big,
1994.
yeah, it's a big, what is it, a conference?
Yeah,
It's
kind
like
of a youth
they have a
conference.
youth, so that like hundreds and hundreds of kids from, the ages of, what are they in sixth grade? They're 12. I can't
Yeah,
remember
sixth
now.
grade, they're
So it's like
11, 11,
think 12
12.
through 14-year-olds
Yeah.
coming to this huge thing where, we'd show up for breakfast. We're staying in a hotel in Los Angeles because
Yeah.
it's DCLA. So I guess sometimes it's in Washington, D.C.
Or was it because that's the coasts and
I
they
don't
were
know.
covering from DC to LA?
But I was supposed to be, sort of a chaperone leader type for these kids.
And
So I stayed
you
in
were
a hotel.
25.
I know. I was barely older than them. We stayed in a hotel room. I think I had 3 or 4 girls in my hotel room, and they were, sending messages across the way through the windows to the boys across the way, showing me how to do all sorts of I don't know, things
No,
that
those are
girls
the
did.
ones you have to tell. Those are the
What?
stories you
Well,
have to tell.
okay, I'll just say it. They could fart on command, and they had a competition. And I was like, I know boys do this. I did
Yeah.
not know the skill these girls
So
had.
my question back then, and it is still my question now, is did you have to participate?
No,
Were you the judge?
you know me.
You were the
I was
judge. Like,
just
what was
like,
the best,
wow.
the best gas passer?
Anyway, so, but I think even though I was only 25, I think I came home with a massive headache and hearing loss because these concerts, like you go
Yeah.
down for breakfast and there'd be a, Christian rock band in this huge, everybody screaming and, it was
Yeah.
wild. But
DC, was it DC Talk or
I probably,
and
yeah, but yeah,
I
that
can't
was a
remember all of
whole
them.
weekend of volunteer fun
Yeah,
while you were
you came
studying.
home and you were wiped out. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't know what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Little did we know that one day in the future we'd have like 3 at that age at one time.
That's right. Well, and we did learn a lot about teenagers, and I
We
mean, it's
did.
interesting because we did that, and then when I ended up doing research and my dissertation, it was on juvenile delinquency.
Yeah, you were
Kind of
always
stayed right to the adolescence.
interested in that sort of brain development period. And
Yeah.
also, if anybody also will just refer back at the
Yeah,
very beginning of the podcast, I think our first interview was with
Marco.
Mark Ostreicher, who was the youth group leader at the time. And he, maybe it was just hanging out with him that kept us coming back because it was fun.
It was fun. I learned a lot of tricks that entertained teenage boys
Hmm.
from Marco, and I think that was embrace the weird.
Yeah,
right?
something like
Was
that. The
our
the
episode,
podcast. Yep.
and it was about embracing the weird, but there was a joy in doing that. I mean, it did enliven our relationship and gave us things to talk about, but it was serving the church that we went to. It was about being part. I think the
Mhm.
reason that we did that was to be part of the community because we got to know wonderful people
Yeah, we really did.
and spend time. I mean, we
Yeah.
would all talk together about, oh my goodness, are we ever going to have kids?
And this
Because we
is
were
why
all
young
experiencing
people
that.
need to volunteer because at 25, I had the energy to spend a weekend with 12-year-olds. But now I don't know if I would volunteer for that.
Yeah,
Even though even then I was very structured. So when I would babysit, because I that's a lot of what I did when I
babysitting.
was a teenager before we were married. A lot, well, no, babysitting was for money, but
Yeah,
I would do that for church. But in my cabin, those girls, they said lights out were at 10.
yeah.
My cabin lights were out, and we could hear other people laughing and partying. And my girls were like, "Wait, it sounds like other people are having fun.
You're like,
Lights out.
nope,
Nope,
nope.
no more
No
talking."
one's having fun. It's just loud.
Yeah, because I knew what we had to go through in the morning. We needed our
Yeah.
sleep.
You need to get them organized, get
Yeah,
them going.
yeah.
So yeah, that was our first. It's surprised that didn't break us from doing any other service.
No, I mean, I think it honestly energized us. I think we really had fun.
We did, and it gave us a sense of community. I mean, and I,
Hmm.
I think that's what drives me a lot is about how can we be part, not just consumers, because I think there's the transactional aspect of society right now, and there's the consuming,
Yeah,
and it all tends to be about me. Volunteerism is an opportunity to do something and share
yeah.
that builds that kind of connection. I think you and I like started out talking about are professionally trying to do that as well, give back to the next generation, give back to the profession and be part.
But we've done that from a young age too. And I think across the board, and I'm not going to blame it on the youngest generation. I think people say, the young ones aren't doing it, but I think it's just a cultural shift too. I think people are having trouble getting people to do things just as a service,
Yeah. Do you think
you know.
COVID did that? Like with
It's
professional
certainly
associations are down and
maybe added to it because people are less inclined to need to show up for something in person.
yeah,
They're more comfortable just staying at home. I
zooming
don't
in.
know. It's hard to know why, but it is harder to find volunteers to work. And really, and both of us in our professional organizations,
Yeah.
we've both been working, for free as volunteers on boards and committees and things
Yeah.
for our professions for decades.
Yeah.
But both of us are seeing that we're now with our age group on these boards, and it's very hard to get some of the younger people. And it's not that we don't want them.
Right.
We really need their new ideas and their new skills, especially with social media
Yeah.
and
New
just
ideas.
perspectives
Yeah.
on things, from, different way of looking at the world. And it's just harder
Yeah.
to
Because
find people.
if you think about systems, right, there's gonna be entropy. Like we only have certain ideas. We can only think what we can think from our experience. And without new, diverse voices, things get stale real quick. And how do we do that? How do we mentor people into service? Because I just left a board. I was on the licensing board for 13 years. When I started, I was the youngest by like 20 years. And by the time I stopped on that board, either people had retired or died, and I was the only one left.
Wow, that's sad.
And so it was hard to get the next generation of professionals. And I get it because you're starting to have kids or you're developing your career. There's a lot of investment that needs to happen
Yeah,
just to make ends meet and to live. But I think there's something about us as people that benefit from giving as well as receiving and being
yeah,
part of something. And so I want to get people excited about just finding one thing to serve and get to know people and do it together.
yeah.
because there are benefits. Like you're serving and you're going to be traveling the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some stories from earlier though.
Oh, okay. Again, I'm going way too fast.
That's fine. I mean, we don't have to tell this in order because a lot of what we're serving with now, well, it's sort of like lots of different things,
Yeah,
but a lot of what we're doing is more board work
yeah,
stuff now. But I do, man, in the years that our kids were in school,
yeah.
I volunteered at the public school to be, the teacher's helper, to be the read stories to kids or um, I don't know, cut things out of paper, like whatever they needed done, like a lot of years doing that,
Yeah.
helping them run the class parties.
But it was streamlined. I liked how you found places to volunteer that were also then being able to be involved with the kids. And so your volunteerism kind of matched kind of
Yeah.
developmentally
I
where
mean,
we
that was
were.
about spending more time with my kids
Yeah.
because they were in school all day and the teachers needed help. The funniest one was Cub Scouts.
Yes, I was
Were you
just going to
thinking
say
of
that.
that?
I was just going to say
Yeah.
my favorite was seeing in that little brown Cub Scout
I never
uniform.
bought the uniform. You always imagine it that
Yes,
way.
in my head.
It's
Well,
not how it
that's a
worked.
whole nother episode.
Well, and it is funny because all of our kids, all of our boys did Cub Scouts. And that's completely run by volunteers, as far as I know. I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody's paid at the top, probably. But anyway,
You didn't get paid.
the leaders for the local groups are
Yeah.
all parent volunteers
Yeah.
usually. And our oldest boy, got put in a group, had a leader, our second son. And then when it was time for our third son, at the meeting, there just weren't enough parents that wanted to lead the groups. And they were threatening that just it wouldn't happen if there wasn't a volunteer to lead a group.
Yeah.
So a friend and I, hey Jill, so thankful for Jill.
Yeah.
We
And
are
Chris.
Well, Chris led our second sons.
Oh,
Chris
that's
Murray
right.
was like extraordinaire
Yeah.
Cub Scout leader. She did have the uniform and she looked good in it.
Yeah. She ran
And
a
she
tight
knows what she's
she ran
doing.
a tight ship.
She knows what she's doing
Yeah.
with like that stuff. She's familiar with boys. She's
Yep.
got 3 boys of her own. But anyway, Jill and I said, all right, if Cub Scouts isn't going to happen for our boys, we'll raise our hands and we'll just be the interim. We'll just kind of like help out until you can get a dad to step in. Because
Yeah.
I mean, Cub Scout, who wants their mom?
Yeah, right.
Like, I think ideally it was the men like doing,
Yeah.
lighting fires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course you only did that for a few weeks because then the dad showed up, right?
It was our children who warned me. Even our son is like, Mom, if you volunteer for this, you're in it for the
You're a lifer.
lifer. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in it till the end of time, until I'm out. And I was like, no, somebody will show up. No.
I noticed
was-
in all this conversation, none of it came up with like, oh, dad will do it.
Well, so there's another one we didn't talk about. You were running you were the coach of all of their baseball teams.
I know. Well, let's finish your
Okay.
because as you were talking about that, I was like, oh, baseball was volunteer. I didn't even think of it as volunteerism.
Yeah, well, you spent if you think about the years that
Nope,
we put
let's
into
not.
those things,
Yeah.
I mean, why not? It did allow us to have a lot more time with our kids and their friends and their friends' parents, who became our closest friends, a lot of them.
Yeah, but wasn't it also a little bit of control of not wanting knuckleheads like
Okay,
ruining
maybe.
ruining the kind of Boy Scout and baseball experience? 'Cause
Well, yeah, because if they have a really, really rough coach, it can
It
turn
can
them
kill
off
the
of
passion.
playing sports ever, which happened.
yeah.
Um,
So you were an interim
So I
Cub
was
Scout.
a long time Cub Scout leader.
interim
Uh,
for 5 years, I think.
I forget how many. It probably was
Yeah,
5
I
years.
think it was.
But it was. I mean, it was fun. It probably was not. If I knew, I wouldn't have chosen to do that. That was a big commitment.
Yeah.
But it was special time with all those boys.
Yeah,
I
and
remember
with-
all those boys and their parents.
And with Jill, the closeness, you guys having fun.
Oh, we had some
giggling
crazy
about it.
times. One of the projects we did was helping the park district clear out invasive species in the parks in
Oh,
the forest.
nice.
So we ran around the forest with bags cleaning out garlic mustard, which is a
Oh,
plant that grows
yeah.
wildly here and gets out of control. So you're just picking plants in the woods with friends, getting poison ivy and
And
watching
ticks.
ticks,
Yeah.
watching boys run wild.
Hit each other with with wild mustard.
Yeah. What else did we? Oh, we had to do an overnight in a museum in downtown Chicago. That was kind of weird.
Oh,
We pitched tents inside the museum by the stuffed animals in the field museum.
yeah. You were by Sue, right? The big triceratops,
Yeah, and she
or
was
not
around.
triceratops,
The
what a
the T-Rex
T-Rex.
skeleton. Yeah. And that I think that was the night I had some regrets.
What, like pitching a tent on a marble
With
floor
and
doesn't
hearing
sound.
other parents snoring all night and like I'm like, why am I here?
Yeah, this is a bad life choice.
But I think our kids have fond memories.
Yeah, and it was they didn't complain about having moms as their leaders. They
No,
actually liked the organization, I think.
probably.
I think
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
and you have experience. Like you grew up in Africa. You can
I,
set fire to
I
things.
camped in the wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would tell me about like lions camping out in your fire pit.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't happen in Wheaton.
No, that was mild.
So yeah, so there was a low threat level, even though it
It was more
was.
of a comfort issue.
Oh,
I'm a
I
little
see.
older. I don't love sleeping on the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
did. That was one thing we didn't do a lot of was camping as the Van Dyke family.
No, I
Yeah,
appreciated that about you.
yeah.
If we're
Roughing
gonna
it's a
camp, we're gonna have an inflatable mattress
yeah. Someplace that provides free breakfast is roughing
and a
it.
shower.
Yeah, and a shower and
Yeah.
not a
And an
drop toilet.
inside
Yeah,
toilet.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All of those things. But yeah, so I had forgotten or blocked, but for each of our kids, I coached them in baseball and softball through eighth grade.
Yeah.
So that's from
Yeah.
kindergarten to eighth grade,
Yeah.
each child 9 years. Oh boy.
Yeah. I know. And that really is where a lot of our relationships came from, our friendships, because it was just sheer number of hours and shared experience.
Yeah, and it was just joy. I enjoyed it
I
so
know.
much. It was so much fun. Even when the kids would like one of our sons would just lay down in the grass or pick dandelions, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, can you face home plate so you don't get hit in the head?"
Yeah.
So it wasn't
Yeah.
really like big strategic coaching, but it was running
Well,
around playing with the
it
kids.
it
Oh,
was.
come on, we're
I
not
mean, that
gonna.
might have been in T-ball when they were 5, but it
Yeah.
got serious.
Well, and other dads were willing to help, so I just kind of organized little stations, and we had fun. We
Yeah.
made practice fun,
Yeah.
but it was about enjoying shared activities. And now the kids, for Father's Day, take me to a baseball game. It's
Hmm.
because of that time together, it became something that we continue to
Yeah,
do.
and it made your daughter brave enough to go work as an umpire at the age of 14. Was she
Yeah,
14,
she was 14.
15?
That was really,
Like
really
a
hard to
tiny
watch.
little girl walking onto the field as an umpire with parents who take things very seriously and coaches who would look at her and literally laugh. But
Yeah.
she was brave, and I think because she had enough hours on the field to know her
Yeah,
stuff.
she knew the game. And I remember one time she came back and she's like, "Dad, I made a mistake." And I was like, "So, honey, this is a life
Well, she
lesson."
made a bad call
She
with
made a bad call.
the
And
play.
as soon as the coach started yelling at her, she knew she had made a bad call. And then she changed the call. And then in the car ride home, we had a conversation of, only in baseball as an umpire, if you make a mistake, you never admit it.
You have to
You
stick
have to
with your
just stick with
original
your
call.
decision and ride it out.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, but you said," and I'm like, "Well, being a person is different than being an umpire. Umpires aren't people."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we had interesting conversations, but it was fun. It was fun joining. I didn't even have that
You
on my
didn't put that on
list.
your list, and you know how many years and hours, like,
Yeah,
even if you weren't on the field, you were writing batting order. Do you remember one year I even made baseball cards for each of the kids?
you
We were a
did.
little extra with the snacks and
Yeah,
the parties and
we made playing
we made
cards,
playing
trading
card trading
cards.
cards with their picture on it and
Yeah.
their
And it was their profile picture on the front, and on the back, it was an action picture. And this was really before
Oh,
computers.
I know. We didn't have Canva and like all the nice graphics things we had. I don't
No.
know. took it to be laminated at.
We spent way too. We've wasted a lot of our lives.
I like to think it was not wasted.
No, the kids, the joy that they all had their own personal
I found
baseball
those
cards.
recently. It's pretty amazing. I can't believe what I did in the past.
Yeah. So that was a way to be part of the community too, because there is like a sports um, cult in
Yeah,
towns around
intensity.
baseball,
Yeah,
football here in the States, and it's usually parent driven.
yeah,
So it's how do you do relationship well too? I mean, the
yeah.
that was my
In
hope.
a competitive playing field. I think it was to help moderate that. Honestly, I think
Yeah,
that was part of the motivation for us,
yeah,
was not just to be present with our kids if they were going to be on the field anyway,
but to
but to
influence.
moderate some of that intensity so
Yeah,
that they weren't harmed by it.
yeah. It's a good thing that neither one of us is competitive or intense.
I think we can, yeah,
Most of the
we're
time.
mostly level-headed.
Yeah, most of the time it was okay.
Yeah.
Occasionally we needed someone to mentor us out of that. So other thing, let's talk about more current. Like what are you doing for doula volunteerism?
Uh, well, I do a lot of stuff that I'm not paid for, if that all counts.
Contributing to
I've
the field.
run, yeah, I mean, I'm on the board for ICEA
Yep.
and have been for a few years. So
ICEA being.
is the International Childbirth Education Association,
Ooh.
which is my certifying body,
Yep.
and we provide certification. I became a trainer with them, but the board is, helping kind of guide the organization. I was the marketing director for a while, and
Hmm.
hopefully stepping into international relations and
Nice.
what have been public policy.
Yep.
So just finding a place to use your
And
skills to help out, because it's all volunteer driven. It's a board that turns over every couple of years.
yeah, and you're looking at maternal health and reducing mortality rates. I mean, it's pretty cool what
Yeah.
your organization does that you get to
Yeah.
be a part
Our
of.
aim is to help kind of shape safe and respectful maternity and newborn care.
Yeah.
And, we're mostly in the United States, but we also train a lot of people internationally. So I'm going to get to do some trainings in South Africa
What?
this
When are you
fall.
going to? No, not when, but so what's that going to be like? So what's happening in South Africa?
Well,
I'm going to be the interviewer
okay,
now. So
you're just pretending you don't know.
I
It
know.
makes me laugh.
Otherwise we have this like shorthand
I'm happy to tell
conversation.
you.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well, David.
well, so David, I'm going to attend the International Federation of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in
Oh,
Cape Town.
that sounds like a fun group.
Yes. 8,000 physicians and other allied health people come to this conference every other year. And that's what we were doing in Paris last year. And
Yeah.
it's in Cape Town this year.
I noticed
And
I didn't get invited back from
you weren't invited
last
the
year.
first time.
I got a pass and I got to wander around
I
the
know.
exhibit hall
Find your
and
way. So this time it's become more, doulas are having more of I don't know, a role, I guess.
yeah,
So we get to present in a pre-conference session, and we're doing a lot of things. But all of it designed to encourage collaboration in the healthcare team.
yeah,
So amongst doulas themselves internationally, but then between doulas and midwives, doulas and obstetricians,
yeah.
doulas and the whole care team working together to
Yeah.
make better conditions for families.
Oh, and I love that because it's really a systemic perspective you're taking. It's like it's not the mother who's the patient uh, and having all these separate relationships, but how do you make it a whole team and have communication and collaboration for success?
Yeah, and part of what it is for me doing this, and a lot of the work that I do, is trying to model what you're telling other people to do, right?
Yeah,
So, like in my work, as I work with new moms and tell them you need to find your people, you need to find your community, that's no good if I'm not doing that with my own colleagues
yeah,
and in my own life. So,
yeah,
when I'm trying to model collaboration and cooperation and working together and having harmony in the team and in my own profession, not competition, because
hmm,
moms do that. amongst themselves get into this bad competition cycle of who's doing a better job.
Mhm.
And if we're doing that in our profession too, we're not modeling what
Yeah,
we're trying to preach. So that it is systemic. It's
right.
kind of like we're trying to do this amongst ourselves and then have this ripple out and say, look, what happens when we all really work together
Yeah.
and have our different roles, but like share ideas and respect each other, and it flows down to the family and then they have a good experience.
I love that you didn't say this, but this is what I heard you say. The modeling is the message. It's not the content
Mm,
necessarily. The content is there, but the
yeah.
modeling is the message. How you do it is what you want. And that's whether that's parenting, whether that's marriage, teaching, or healthcare, how we do things. And you and I are big passionate about
Yeah.
how we do things matters and communicates much more than telling. I mean, you
Yeah.
can tell, teach, and then you model. And
Mhm.
I think modeling, and I do this in supervision with my students, rather than just telling them what to do with the clients that they're working with, we instantly, without them knowing it, start role playing,
Mm,
because it's modeling of like our conversation is going to be the thing that you need to be doing and having that conversation.
mhm.
And I think mentoring allows for that and volunteering allows for that because there's not as much competition. There's not as much kind of driven by the dollar. It's like, how are we all rising? Kind of the tide bringing up all the boats.
Yeah.
There's something that's the saying like that.
Yeah, I can't think of
A
it.
slow tide rises all the boats. I don't know. That's not.
We'll put that in a quote.
No.
Uh,
Yeah, our
but
quote
I
book.
think we're both naturally doers. We both naturally want to get roll our sleeves up and get in there and do it.
Yeah.
I find that what's hard for people who do volunteer is that the people who are complaining about the way things are being done are usually not the ones volunteering.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a lot of places where I've worked and volunteered, and you get
Hmm.
letters of complaint and you get people, protesting what you're doing. And
Yeah.
it's not the people who are in there working
Right.
and understanding the context and actually trying to change or
Yeah.
improve the way things are done. So I think for us, it feels more productive. We like to be productive,
Yep.
and it feels more productive to be part of the team and to find out why we are where we are and work towards something else than to just be on the outside
Yeah.
saying, I wish it was different.
Yeah. Well, and so as you're talking, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting research study. I'd be fascinated to look at volunteerism and birth order.
Mm.
Because you and I
We're
are
firstborns.
firstborns, and our motto is, if you want it done right,
Do it yourself.
yeah, which is horrible. That's
I
a
know. We do
horrible
not
motto.
recommend that. We do
No,
not
it's
recommend
a
that.
it's a it's a growing edge for us to let go of that. But it's like, let's do it. Let's just get it done. Why mess around? Life is too short. But I think that's also our personalities, our birth
Hmm.
order, and so I think there's space though for folks that aren't doers but are thinkers and are
Yeah.
processors, and there's space. It's are you looking to give to the things that are important to you? Are you looking to give to your church community? Are you looking to give to your local community, to the sports teams, to the kids' sports? There's plenty of places to get involved.
Hmm.
And you don't have to have the sickness that we do of getting too involved um, with
Yeah.
too many things. Because
Yeah.
we have the problem of
Well,
we see so many good things
yeah.
that we want to be a part of. And I think there is a need to go, oh, let's focus in on one thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no, I agree. That's something we've tried to work on, but I don't know. We're we're this far down the line and we
yeah,
haven't gotten good at
it's too
saying
late. Let's just
saying
keep
no. It's
doing
keep doing
everything.
all the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as if people are thinking about, ooh, what could I volunteer? And there's endless ways you can volunteer your time. And you think of anything that you're interested in. You can volunteer at an animal shelter. You can volunteer at churches, certainly. You can
Yeah.
volunteer at arts organizations. You can be at, I remember in college, a lot of people would volunteer as ushers
Yeah. Concerts.
at big or Broadway
Yeah.
productions.
The
So you
Chicago Opera.
yeah, and the gain was you got a free seat, but you
Yeah.
also got to be part of the inner workings and see, be there for rehearsal and,
Yep.
so there's anything you're interested in, there's
Yeah.
a way to be part of it. And if it's something more, there's political change organizations that need volunteers. There's
Hmm.
anything that you find drives you or just that you love to talk about.
Yeah. Or you want to get to know about,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like
Or meet like-minded people.
yeah, our podcasting son, producer, was really good at that. If I want to learn something, he would volunteer, whether it's flying a plane, setting up sound at the church when he was like a middle schooler, of being on the sound team. Now he's
Hmm.
an audio producer. There was, by getting involved, you develop skill sets, you
Right.
have opportunities. So there's ways that it can be beneficial. I just don't want it to be, I'm doing it because I want to get something out of it. My hope is people want to do this to be part, to be relational. Because I think we talk about this anxious generation
Hmm.
here in the US and globally. And I think the isolation has been a big part of that. It was stirred up by COVID, but
Hmm.
there's a sense of just, I'm in my own little bubble, and it's not good for us. And
Yeah.
so, um,
Now, I'll just add a little bit to that
okay.
because I think there does need to be some kind of energy exchange because I think we even get to the point where we're giving so much of ourselves away that we get burnt out
Yeah.
or you lose any energy or interest in serving anymore. So there is an exchange in some way for
Hmm.
anything that you do. You get some kind of good feeling about it or some kind of, gained skill or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have some sort of benefit,
Yeah.
but you're saying that shouldn't be the only motivation for doing
Right.
it.
That I'm doing it to
And
receive.
I
And
won't do it unless I receive what I want from
right.
this. Yeah.
Because any healthy relationship, there's give and take. It's to serve and be served. By mentoring, you're also receiving.
Mhm.
But if it's, I'm only doing this because I get this, or I'm doing it and then I don't get what I think I should get, and I get
Mhm.
bitter.
Yeah.
All of that is a problematic relationship. So you're right. It needs to be thought about of, I'm investing and I'm part of, so if I'm giving to this community, there's probably going to be something coming back to me, but I'm
Mhm.
not doing it for that reason. I'm
Right.
doing it to invest in the community, which does nurture me. I
Right.
mean, even like the commission work I did this weekend, it's talking to the students there, it's like, oh, this is why I'm here. The next
Mhm.
generation, I got excited about where marriage and family therapy is going. And so that was a boost to, then it improves my teaching, my scholarship, because I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, it's hopeful where things are going.
Yeah.
But I went to help them out and to help the university. So you're right, there's an exchange.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's yeah, just thinking about motivation
Yeah.
and wanting to be giving of yourself, but not so far that you get burnt out or lose any interest in it.
Yeah. And there's always need for childcare at church, right?
Always.
That's the one thing.
We've
It's
all
always
done
like,
that.
oh yeah. And again, I think it's good to do it young. Like we've been telling your mom wants to volunteer, to work with young kids. And we're like, let's just stick with greeting.
Yeah. My
Um,
mom volunteers now in her 80s as a door greeter at church, and she gets so much joy from it because she's a socially motivated creature, I would say.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
she enjoys relationships and talking to people, and so it's a perfect volunteering opportunity for her because she shows up early, she's the friendly face that everybody sees when they come in the door, she loves doing it, she does it most every week. And so it's a win-win.
Yeah, it builds community. Makes the church a welcoming place, and she gets her relational needs met. It's really, really cool. So I hope people can find those think about what you're interested in, either what you love to do or
Mhm.
maybe what you want to learn about, and find those places. And we might put some ideas on the website of at least about DCLA 1994. We'll
Yeah.
have that on there
Okay,
for you.
I'll give everybody the first thing they can do. If you've now got just a little bit of inspiration
Like,
to volunteer,
subscribe, and
there
follow.
you go. Write us a review. That would be such a gift
Service.
of service to us, especially if it's decent.
Yes, only if you like us. If you don't like us, service is
Share us
overrated.
with your friends, write a review. It makes us feel like we're doing something that other people are enjoying too.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just us doing this and we're not sure why. No, what was it? I'm sorry, I derailed you. What were you going to say? What's the first thing?
That was it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we've been married way
I
too long.
know.
We
I can't
share a
believe.
brain. Yeah, so yes, you can
Yeah,
do
we're
that. Oh,
shameless.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Not even
often?
planned.
No, how often does that happen?
All the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, we hope that you have maybe had a few laughs with us.
Yeah. We didn't even tell all the stories, but that would go on too long. But
Yeah,
um it has been a big part of our lives and it won't end. I think when our paid work ends, that's all we'll be doing
yeah,
is volunteering. And you do get a lot of joy and a lot of connection.
yeah. And if you want to read about purpose and these ideas, Viktor Frankl on meaning making of it's having purpose in life, and that can be the payoff. Is it gives me something to do, it gives me a space to go, and
Right.
that
We're
that
wired to
causes
feel like
flourishing.
we're adding meaning.
Yeah.